This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, fine. Let's get started. So in the last class, we saw about the architecture of a Docker and the usage of the Docker. Forgot to restart the system. So did anybody try to complete your Docker desktop and download and install Docker desktop? Nobody? Okay. So even I forgot to solve this issue what I had last time. Okay, no problem. So let's go with the theoretical stuff today, and I'll try to check that later on. So here, let's see some kind of a basic commands with respect to Docker. What I have in here. So first thing is like generally, what is available within the Docker level. I can see my images or I can see my containers. Similarly, you can also have a lot more other things like how can you delete your Docker or also delete your images, or how can you remove delete your the containers, all those things you have in general. So let's go with your basic things. So like what about the Docker? So what are the the kind of syntaxes what you have, the basic syntaxes in here, so that you can understand the basic things first of all, minimum. Okay, in here. So the first thing is like how can I see the images list in local repository? So for that, so the basic command, the command, every command what you have will start with the Docker. So as you saw, like for the Azure level, you have AZ, or within your like with respect to my Git CLI, you can saw Git, and similarly here your Docker, you still start with Docker in here. So Docker, and to find the list of the images, uh, Docker images in here. Okay, so by writing these particular small things in here, what happens, you can find the total number of images what you have available within my Docker in here. So Docker container, or you can see a Docker image in here. So this is the one, I would say Docker image or Docker images, where it helps us to understand or help us to see the number of images that are available within my local repository. Similarly, you have here, how can I see the containers? How can I see the number of container list in the local repository? So the similar kind of stuff. Let's see that. See the containers in here. Containers list in here. So again, for same thing, you can go with the Docker in here, and here you have two ways. One is like so you can say Docker containers ls in here, where this one will help us to find the list number of containers what you have in your local repository. So the Docker containers in here. Similarly, you have the third one, the other syntax with respect to the same, to get the list of the containers from the local repository. So we have something like Docker PS. So both will try to provide you the same result out. Okay, so we'll try to provide you the same result out in here, where you can go ahead and you can pull the number of list you have with respect to your with respect to your the containers list what you have in your local repository. So this is your second command what you have in here. So now apart from this, now next is like what, how can I remove my image, or how can I delete my image in here, or see here, how can I delete the image from local repository? So for this, again, you have a small command where you can go ahead and you can say something like Docker image rm is something like you're trying to say remove. So remove -have, and try to mention your image and provide the name of my image in here. So it can be something like nginx or anything in here. Okay, so I can go with something like image name, I would say. So Docker image remove is the syntax. -f provide the name of the image. So you're trying to say remove your image. So what's the name of the image? But before mentioning the name of the image in here, you have to say your image and then your image name. Where in this particular place you can have your something like nginx or the other places. What is the name of the image you have? You can provide it in here. So similarly, now similarly, what you say, like how can I delete my or how can my remove my things with respect to my containers? How can you delete the things in here? So that is very simple. Like how? Let me write down the similar stuff again. Copy and paste it here. Similarly, instead of images, I can say container. So this is simple. Like Docker delete and your container ID what you have in here. So container ID will be provided or will be created once you create your container. So how can you create a container? By running your docker run command. I'll tell you that later on. Okay. So container ID or the container name you have in here. Container name. So by providing either of these two, what you can do, you can go ahead and you can delete the, you can delete your containers in here directly. So when you delete your container, only container will be deleted, but not your image. Image will be still there with your local repository in here. But if you want to remove the image from local repository, and this is syntax you have to follow in here. Okay. So similarly, now I can also say that how can I stop my container which is running in here. Uh, so the syntax docker stop and your again you can provide your container ID or my container name in here. Similarly, how can I start when you saying it stop in here, there should be start as well, right? So how can I start my container? So here instead of saying stop, simply docker start container ID and your container name in here. So this is trying to provide you the things with respect to my starting and stopping the containers. You can do using this particular commands what you have in here. So this is your main thing, and also you have the other one like this docker -a docker ps. So this is something like to get the total number of description, total number of things what happened with respect to my containers in here. So for that you have your docker ps. Ps is again you anyway you saw already here, which providing the list of the containers in here. So along with the list of the containers, if you want to get more details of that, you can say -a. So hyphen is the one trying to pull all the description part, all the details of my docker level in here. And finally, to run my container, first of all, to stop or start or to delete the container, to have your 4, 5, 6 steps happen, the first thing is like I have to run my container, right? I have to create my container first. So without having a container created or without running my container, how can I start or stop or delete in here? So for that reason, the question here is like, how can we start the container, or how can we run the container in here? How can we start or run the container in here? So for that, so we have a syntax called as docker run, and we have a -d. I'll talk about all those things. -d, -p, and at is to at, and your image name you can directly mention in here. Okay, it's like a nginx and nothing but my image name in here. So what do you mean by this 80 is to 80? What do you mean by -d in here? What you need to put all those things in here with respect to my docker? What is the need of this one? So see here, when you're trying to run your things, as I told you, your images what you're trying to pull from, you're trying to pull from your remote location, right? Which is available in your mostly within your Docker hub. So if you see Docker Hub, let me go with my Docker Hub in here. Docker Hub. So this is the, like, it's a kind of a library where it contains like huge number of the images available in here. So if you want, you can provide the things in here. You can start your free trial to get the kind of licensing part in here, but not really required. So we have some kind of base codes which are available for free. So you no need to get the thing sign up within my Docker level in here. For example, here I want to go with my Nginx. So Nginx. So see here. So this is my official image. So with this I can have Bitmain Nginx I have with the Ubuntu Nginx. So I have most of this. This is my Linux kind of things in here. So this is a simple web page. It's a kind of web server you have in here. So similarly, I want to go with kind of .NET. .NET in here. See, I can see my .NET related images available in here for me. Okay, so I can see like .NET agent, so all these are what my related to my .NET, related to my images, all these things in here. Similarly, if you want to go with my Node.js, see, it's a Node.js official image in here. So whatever you want, so what kind of application you're trying to deploy, so what kind of image you want to deploy, so every kind of base code image will be available in your Docker Hub in here. Okay, so similarly your other things also available within my Docker Hub. So this is my remote location, this is my remote machine of what I'm talking about earlier. So it's like a remote repository, I would say, not machine. So remote repository where I can go and pull my images from my Docker Hub in here. So from here it will try to download to where, to my images space which is available in my Docker host in here. So from a remote machine to my Docker host, that means I'm trying to save my things within my local repository. So I can go and I can pull my things to local repository in here. So for every image, there will be your, there will be your kind of a port number as you have. So when you're trying to run all this container, everything in here currently, one second, guys. Okay, sorry guys. So here, when you're trying to run the things in here, every image what you're trying to download to your local machine, every image has its own port number. If you see here, for example, I'm gonna go with my official Node.js in here. So this image, if you go and see, all these are nothing but my multiple tags nothing but my versions which have been available for my Node.js. You can download any version of this part in here. Okay, so this everything as per the basic thing you have, so you will be having your own port number which has been tagged to your respective things in here. So I don't see in here, let me check for my Nginx. So these are the tags again, and yeah, see, it's a here they're trying to provide you some 80 port in. See the same content, Docker run, and this is the name they provided, -d-p, and this is my port number of my 88 is nothing but it is a local host. See here, so you can hit 88 is a local port, and this is your browser. So 80 is my port number for my Nginx application in here, what you have in here. So I would say 80 is my port number of a Nginx application, and 80 is the port number of your local host. That means because where you install your Docker host within my laptop, correct? Within my local lab, I have my Docker desktop in here. So when you're trying to execute those things, when you're trying to run those images in here, when you want to see what's happening in that particular container, what you need to do, you are trying to connect your port number of your image to the port number to your local host. So generally every, if you see the control panel, so your thing starts with 80 port in here, the local machine. Because since my Docker host is out within a local machine in here, so I can see my connectivity in here, connections tab. Go to my connections tab in here, LAN settings. I can see port number 80. So right from 80 it starts in here. So from 80 port, this is my local host where it starts from 80. So I need to tag what? I need to tag my port number of my Nginx to my local host port number in here. Okay, so let me go with my diagram in here. So for this is like, every image has its own port number of its own. So you have to tag that to my local host. But one main thing in here is like, once a particular image has been tagged to my, one of my local host in here, the same local host cannot be used for second image in here. For example, so this is my local host, which is having the base number called with 80 in here. Okay, similarly I'm having my image in here. So this is my image, so like a Nginx image with my 80 port in here. Okay, so this is now to this particular image to run in my local host or Docker host in here, what I have to tag? I have to tag my port number with 80 to my 80 of my, the image in here. So what I need to do, I need to tag in between these two. I need to provide my 80 is to 80. So the left hand side 80, what you see is for what? This is for my, this particular 80 is for my local host, what you see in here, and this particular 80 is for my the port number of my Nginx image what you have. So you have to tag these two for sure, then only you can run the local host within your web page and you can see that. Supposing that I have one more image available in here. Now okay, I have one more image in here, and this is something like httpd image, and this is having something like 80 is to 80 with the port number. Okay, so if you do not know, you can go with 80 by default, but if you know, you can provide them the host number in here. So now I want to run this one in a different container, but already within my local host 80 port in here, I have been tagged my Nginx image. So is it like within your Docker host or within your local port, only one image can be run, only one container can be handled? Can't it be can't we handle more than one container in here? No, it's wrong. We can handle it. So how can you do that? So since your 80 port is already, it's been defined or already tagged to my Nginx in here, I will go with my 81. So within my control panel, if I say 80 in here, 80 is not like only one, it's not like only one port we have in here. Right from 80, 81, 82, 83, any port you can keep on increasing the value. So 80 is the minimum one. So from 80, you can go ahead and you can increase the value in here. Okay. So that's the meaning of LAN in here. So what I'll do now, I'll go similar to the, and here I'll be having connecting these two. So I need to connect these two with respect to my port numbers. So what is the port number? 81 is to 8080 in here. So 81 is the local host where your HTTP image is been tagged to, and you can find the image running in using your local host in here. Similarly, if I'm having other things as well, then you can have one more. For example, I have my .NET application. So you can simply do this one. I can have in here. So this is my .NET, or like, I have my Python, for example. Python or something like, 15, like, 1500 or some port number you have in here. So where I can go ahead and I can assign that to my in here. So 1500, and this should be what? this should be 82, not 81 anymore, because 81 is already tagged to my one of the ports in here. By simply changing the port number locally and tagging that to my respective port number of my images, what I can do, I can run my containers within my local host in here. So that is the reason being you have this particular option -p 80 is to 80. This is your local host, I would say. This is a local host port, and this is your image port number in here. So this is your local host port and this is your image port in here. So these two things will keep on changing based upon the image name what you choose in here. Okay, so this is like you have to go, you have to make sure this particular part to be mentioned only when you're trying to run manual method. But if you tend to run in your with the web application when you automated way, you don't need to take care of all those things. Everything will be handled within your Docker file, whatever you have in here. So this is the meaning of -p and tagging your port number from a local host to my image, so that my image can run in my local host in here, where my Docker host is being hosted or is been installed in a local machine here. So here you have -d. So hyphen is something, earlier, even you don't use this one, it will work in here. But what will happen, like when you try to run this particular syntax, you can find lot many logs are coming out in here. So lot many logs are coming out in here. So sometimes the system may be hanged up due to those many logs in here. So what I need to do, like I need to manually go and exit the command prompt and I need to restart again. So I don't want to see all these logs coming up. I want to detach these logs while running my command in here, while executing this particular run command in here. For that reason, being to detach those logs, I have -d. So when you mention -d in here, you will not see these logs anymore. So simply after running this particular command, you can see a kind of a unique identity, unique ID, and you can see your Docker host running automatically. Okay, so that is the how your run command can be helpful for us. So what is that? Docker run -d to detach the logs in here. I don't want to see any logs while executing my command line in here, and to tag my port numbers within my local host and the image port number in here. So to tag these two, I need to write my -p 80 is to 80 or whatever you require based upon the the different images what you tend to choose, what you tend to run in here. Based upon that, you can go ahead and you can do the things in here. Okay, so this is about your running of the things. How can you run in here? So these are the basic commands you can follow. Your Docker image, Docker container ls, Docker image, remove. I have to, this is to remove my images in here. Similarly, to delete my container totally, to stop my container, to start my container, to see the more options on your container. Similarly, to run my container first of all. So without running, I cannot delete or stop or start in here. So this is the main point we have to go with. Okay, this is a tagging kind of stuff is very important with respect to my starting of my container to run new containers in here. Okay, so that's the main thing you have in here, guys. Um, so I have an issue. Actually, I need to restart my system. So what I've done actually is like so I'll be using my virtual machine in here. So when I have a Docker in here, so I cannot run my virtual machine. But to run my virtual machine, I had to make some changes to my environment where I can stop my, some kind of virtualization internally. So I think I have disabled my, the Docker related option. So that reason being, it's not able to start my Docker in here. So I have to enable this option and I need to restart my option or restart my system in here so that it comes into effect. So very sorry, I really forgot about the updating the option over there. For that reason being, even though you run your Docker in here, it'll throw an error saying that again same old issue what I have in here earlier. But if anybody has already implemented or ready to go with, you can share your screen and you can, we can try to deploy run all these commands I just saw now in here. So do you have anybody's system ready, just in case, to run your Docker related stuff, all those things? Okay, I do understand. Okay. mm, what next? So I don't have anything else for currently, because whatever we try to do, everything, this is the basic commands you run it. And later on, what I'll do is, like, once you have your Docker images available within local repository, so generally having the things within local repository is not so secure. Okay, so what I will do, like, I would like to push this particular the repo images to some secure place. So where can we push the images to make them secure? So till now, what you are trying to download images and those things are all in the local repository in here. Okay, but if you see here, you can also delete the things in here. But I don't want anybody to delete the things. I don't want anybody to stop, do anything, some abnormal things with respect to my containers in here or images in here. So I would like to save my images somewhere into some kind of secure place in here. So where you can do that? So where you can push the images to make them secure? So the answer is, like, it's a Azure container registry, ACR, Azure container registry. So this is a kind of kind of repository where it's a remote repository, I would say. This is your remote repository where we can save all the images available with respect to my local machine, what you have in local repository in here, what you have in here. So how can you push it? So what the syntax is for that? All the things you can see again in here. Okay, I don't want to push all the syntaxes today itself, so that you may be confusing. But at least until this particular point, how can I see my images? How can I see my containers within my local repository? When you see something, you can also delete it, right? So delete the images, delete the containers. So similarly, the things which are running in here, the containers which are running, how can I stop the containers, or how can I restart my containers in here? Similarly, to delete, to stop, or restart, first of all is, like, I need to run my container. So what is syntax for this one in here? So up to this, you have to see your practical part for sure, and then we can jump into the other stuff in here. So for now, I will not go with this particular part. It will be quite confusing for you guys. Okay, so I don't have anything to. I will need to show you practically this one. Then only I can go and jump into my ACR. Without showing this in practically, you will be confused. So I don't want to go forward more than this one in here. Okay, at least up to this level. Any questions, guys? Okay, okay. So one small request, guys. So from next Thursday, I mean, like, today's Tuesday, right? But from Thursday onwards, so my office timings are a little bit changing in here. So that's not like office timings. The timings are almost same, but my calls have been scheduled from 17th of this month at same 8:30 a.m. in the morning. Okay, so I'm just like a request for you guys. Can you come by 10:30? Just a couple of hours. Just postponing your class for a couple of hours so that we can have your classes. Is that okay for you guys?
That's fine, sir.
Yeah, 10:30
It's
would be
okay.
fine, right? Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's a small request for me, guys. So because my timings have been changing, and there's a calls attending. Mainly there will be a client calls for me, so that reason being I need to attend those. But anyway, thanks a lot, guys, for accepting the timings for 10:30. So from tomorrow also we'll be having the same time in here at 8:30 only. But from day of tomorrow onwards, so we'll be meeting on 10:30 a.m. in the morning again. Okay, so just a couple of hours ahead.
10:30 of Indian time.
Yeah, Indian time.
Oh, okay, fine. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So now it's 8:30 for us. So we are generally meeting at 8:30 in the morning. So 2 hours later, 10:30.
10:30, fine. That would be like 12 in midnight for me.
Oh my God.
That's fine. That's
Fine, right. I'm very sorry, Mudha sir.
it's fine. It's fine. Because
Okay.
now it is 10:30 for me.
Oh,
We have daylight changes.
yeah. I think it got changed from yesterday, right?
Oh yeah, day before yesterday.
Oh, for your day before yesterday. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so that's it. So I'll stop here for today, guys. I'm very sorry I did not check with my machine. So tomorrow I'll surely come with my actual stuff and make sure my Docker will run and we'll try to implement all those things and slowly we'll move forward. Okay.
Yeah.
Sure, guys. Then thank you, and we'll meet again tomorrow, same time 8:30. But day of tomorrow, from Thursday onwards, it will be at 10:30. Okay. Thank you, guys. Then have a great day and bye bye.
Thank you, Shyam.
Thank you.